Now, the first Wonder Woman movie was actually pretty good in my opinion. While it did have some clear women power moments that didn't come across the best, it wasn't in your face the whole entire time. And now that Wonder Woman 1984 is out, I was someone who was hoping that it would be really good just like the first one, but it definitely had some okay moments to it. I thought the general plot of the movie was good, yet a lot of it was very poorly written. The fight scenes were just really bad when you actually got them, and Maxwell Lord is a poorly done Trump parallel, and clearly I'm not the only person who has problems with this movie just by looking at the critic scores and even user scores for it. So I kind of wanted to go through some of the Metacritic scores and then reference another article that kind of talks about the Trumpy Maxwell Lord parallels, and it just shows how many people truly dislike this movie because a lot of people were expecting it to be very good like the first movie just because a lot of the same team members were coming back, same director, a lot of people behind the scenes, and of course obviously a lot of the actors and actresses, but it definitely didn't turn out the way that we all anticipated. So because the movie did just release, there aren't a ton of reviews online, but the first reviews that are pretty terrible. So there are 55 critic reviews sitting at a 59 average critic score, and I actually am surprised the critic score isn't higher. It seems like a movie critic's dream. It seems like a movie that they would kind of eat up because the whole time the theme is just a straight up slight at capitalism, and Me Too references are definitely obvious, but the user score based on 427 ratings is a 4.7. So let's go over to the user scores. A couple of people gave them 10s. It says incredible movie, beautiful message, a superhero being a superhero, beautiful and exciting. They actually have 11 likes on this, but 27 dislikes. All of the 10s seem to have a lot of dislikes on them. Someone gave it an 8 named Revi, very solid, not a perfect conclusion with a few plot issues, but overall they thought that it was a great film. Capitus gave it a 3. Bad writing, bad pacing, predictably bad plot, villains who are caricatures, awful over-the-top CGI, and cringe metaphors for modern times. Diana Prince portrayed as a shrinking Violet over Steve. This whole movie is a mess from start to finish. Someone gave it a 1. Now, I definitely don't think the movie deserves a 1, but I do think that it is like a 5 out of 10 movie. Someone said bad acting, poor storyline and storytelling. I don't have a good thing to say other than the nostalgia it brought back from the 80s, and then someone gave it a 0. This movie was incredibly disappointing. The writing was horrible, the jokes all landed flat, and the plot was an illogical mess. As always, Hans Zimmer delivers a great score, but that's about the only part of the movie that I enjoyed. Now, I saw the movie, and I definitely have a couple of very big issues with it. Now, I get the world that she's in isn't our planet like in Marvel, but it's supposed to be a clear mirror of our world in the 80s, and it's not something like Stranger Things where it pays homage to the 80s. Wonder Woman 1984 is literally making fun of the 80s. It's like, look at these silly cars that people drive, and look at the silly clothes that they wear. Everyone's wearing bright colors and spandex. Ha ha, it's so funny. And the music for this movie is way off. They literally have one scene in this whole movie that has anything close to music from the 80s, and the rest of it is like action superhero music. And I get it's a superhero movie. There's going to be those moments where it's intense combat music and it sounds like a pretty average DC movie or pretty average superhero movie, but it feels like it was done by the CW, and I hate to say that, but the whole movie, I was just thinking to myself, this is like if CW made a comedy about Wonder Woman in the 80s, and it doesn't work for this film. The thing is that this movie ends with, like, no villains. Maxwell Lord ends up redeeming himself by renouncing everything bad that he did to save his son, and even Cheetah is shown as a victim of bullying, and she was just kind of irrationally lashing out at everyone, so they all got a redemption arc, and the only villain was truly capitalism and greed by the end, which was perpetuated by the stone made by a god, which leaves us with a truly convoluted plot. Now, as a lot of people point out, a big problem that I had is the woman power messages. Now, I understand that with her being an Amazonian, there's gonna be quite a bit of women power, and I felt the first movie did it pretty well. But this movie is bad not only because they're throwing women power in your face at all points possible, and they've done it in a terrible way, but the rest of the movie is just really bad. One thing that I thought was way overdone were guys and also girls gawking at Diana, and also like Cheetah. I know that Cheetah, aka Minerva, wished to be like Diana, and Diana's a gorgeous goddess. But they both walk down streets and literally everyone compliments them, and they're like paralyzed by their beauty. We haven't seen that happen in other films. Yeah, we'd see like one guy look at Diana and go like, wow, or make some sort of slight comment that she's so pretty or so gorgeous. But literally every scene that they're with other people, like at the party, everyone is just gawking at them. Cheetah goes through a scene where she's dressing up, she's trying on a dress and she's trying on high heels. And the person at the store that was helping her, pick out an outfit and shoes were just like, wow, you are so gorgeous. I wish I could be like you. It's just way too overdone. So I don't want to read this whole entire article, but I just wanted to read the end because a lot of mainstream media right now is pretty unhappy with Wonder Woman 1984, and it's kind of surprising because, like I said, this is a movie that I thought the press would eat up, that reviewers would love and think was amazing, but unfortunately for Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot and everyone behind this project, a lot of people aren't really on board with it. A lot of people really didn't like it. It felt very convoluted, very messy, and overall it just was a mediocre movie. So it says Wonder Woman 84 stars a Trumpy villain, Gal Gadot's charm, and a super garbled message. The world was beautiful just as it was, Diana says towards the end of the highly anticipated Christmas release of Wonder Woman 1984. It's an odd sentiment for a film in which the hero flies, turns things invisible, and tosses around military assault vehicles like basketballs. Director Patty Jenkins' script insists on the power and wonder of truth, in contrast to pleasing wish fulfillment. But superhero films, including this one, are all about wish fulfillment. The movie never reconciles with that contradiction, nor does it quite recognize that it needs it. This thematic tangle is mirrored by the film's unusually convoluted plot. The movie is set in 84, 60-odd years after the events of the first movie. The immortal Diana is still grieving the death of Steve Trevor, or Chris Pine, who sacrificed himself to save Earth at the end of World War I. She doesn't date, but she does have a day job, and of course she's saving lives as Wonder Woman on the side. In her day job, she meets Barbara Minerva, and of course, the stone that they are kind of tasked to investigate grants Barbara strength and confidence in bringing Steve back to life for Diana. Unfortunately, in return for the wish, the stone exacts a price and slowly leeches away Diana's powers. Now, I actually thought that this was pretty good. Maxwell Lord ends up kind of becoming the stone, and he ends up being able to grant people's wishes, but we also have, you get your wish, but there's a give and a take. So of course Diana wished for Steve back, but it's kind of draining her powers. And I think the only thing that really saved this movie was just the passion between the actors. I think that, Gal Gadot as Diana and, of course, Chris Pine as Steve Trevor were just amazing. And I think that if they didn't have that on-screen chemistry, this movie would have been a complete dud and a complete wash. I think that overall, the story was pretty decent. But the ending of this article says, but if Wonder Woman 1984 is good, clean, empowering fun, the message of Wonder Woman 84 is garbled. Dreams aren't synonymous with lies or cruelty, and wishing for a better world or a better life won't make you complicit with Trumpism. You'd think Wonder Woman, who's a wish and a dream if she's anything, would understand that. They do definitely, in this movie, reference Trump. They reference capitalism bad. They do make a lot of messages, and I just think they threw way too many messages into one movie, and it ended up completely just like annihilating the rest of the movie and the entertainment in it. And of course, they also retconned her story in the DCEU because she hadn't hadn't been seen since World War I until, you know, Batman versus Superman, and they literally talked about it in BVS, yet here she is saving people in a mall in the 80s. I just feel like the movie overall was okay, but it wasn't great. I'd probably give it like a 5 out of 10 because the writing was bad, the action sequences were just really terrible, and the plot was okay, it just wasn't executed right. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. I'd give it like a 5 out of 10. It was okay, but it definitely didn't live up to the first movie, and it definitely isn't the best DC movie ever created. But let everyone know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Did you see it, or are you deciding to pass on it? If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.